The Heat beat down in Beantown in Game 1 of the NBA's Eastern Conference playoffs. The number 1 seed Celtics race out to a 14-0 start at the beginning of the game, and they never look back from there. 6 Celtics in double figures as the Heat dropped Game 1, but there was a late comeback by Miami in the fourth quarter. 7 3-pointers. They cut what was a 34-point deficit down to 15. So is there hope for the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler? We'll talk about that on the show today as well. A big night for Bam Adebayo in Boston, but Miami needs a lot more from Tyler Herro if they're going to get back into this series against the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship, the Boston Celtics. This, my friends, is your Miami Heat postcast, live after every Miami Heat game. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Miami Heat postcast is presented by, oh man, am I excited to tell you about my friends every single time at Game Time. That's right, the best prices, last minute for sports, comedy, concerts, theater, you name it, at Game Time. And all you have to do to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. It's your Miami Heat postcast. It's powered by Game Time. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and we are going to start right now.
You are Locked On Heat Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you so much, Heat fans, for making Locked On Miami Heat, Locked On Miami, and Locked On Miami Heat postcast your first listen every day. We are free. We're available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day with Locked On. And we are really pumped to be here today. I know I am. I mean, look, you thought the Heat would struggle in Game 1, didn't you? Did you have any delusions that, hey, the Celtics had some time off? And usually when teams sit for a while after they've been playing and, another team's been playing, and yeah, you had all that coming in, and you had, well, Tyler Herro looked good in that second playing game against Chicago. Maybe that heat will continue for him, right? Maybe he'll stay hot and have a great shooting day. Maybe Bam Adebayo's defense on Porzingis will make a big difference, and he won't be an X factor in this series. And maybe, just maybe, the Heat can find a way to overcome Jimmy Butler's absence and his 20 points per game and his playoff Jimmy, which is even more, and all the things that he brings to the table. So you come into Game 1, and you think, maybe I'm a little optimistic, right? Maybe I'm a little optimistic for this Game 1. Maybe I believe that the Heat can accomplish some of those things. Hey, Jayson Tatum loves to turn the ball over. The Celtics have so much pressure. They choked last year in the Eastern Conference Finals against the same Miami Heat team. And look, these two teams have played each other 7 times in the playoffs since 2010. 4 of the last 5 years, these two teams have done battle. And when you think about it, man, I'll tell you, the Miami Heat 6 times in the playoffs, right? 4 times in the Eastern Conference Finals, 12, 20, 22, and 23. The Celtics' original big 3 of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. And then the Heat do it with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. And there's just so much history here. The Heat, 4-2 in the playoffs against Boston, including last year, went up 3-0 as the 8th seed from the play-in game to beat the Celtics, and they went up 3-0. The Celtics came storming back, and everybody thought, man, the Celtics won all 3 of these games in such convincing fashion. They're going to smoke Miami in Game 7. Terrible game for Tatum, terrible game for Brown. Marcus Smart ends up out of town. They blow the whole thing up. They bring in an all-star point guard in Jrue Holiday. They bring in a big man in Kristaaps Porzingis, who was huge in New York, great shooter at 7'2" from beyond the arc, and they really needed those things. So they shook it up. They traded a big piece of their core and a big leader on their team in Marcus Smart, and they did it to go out and blow it up. So give the Celtics credit. When you want to win on that high of a level, you have to take the chances. You got to roll the dice. You got to blow it up once in a while and try to get better. They took a team that literally should have went to the finals and maybe even beaten Denver last year, where they really didn't have to do anything to that team, and they still could have been right there with Joe Mazzulla coaching. Now, I mean, obviously, the coaching change they made the year before wasn't something that really served them well, and that's something that's different now. It's way in the past. But when I think about what the Celtics do now, They hustle, they play defense. They had 6 guys in double figures tonight. They shoot lights out when they're hot, but when they're not and they're streaky, you can beat them. But they were on point tonight at 22 3-pointers. That ties their season, or it is their season high, excuse me. And, looking at the box score for the Celtics, first on the team side, 22 out of 49 from 3. That's 44, almost 45%. 39 of 82 from the floor, almost 50% shooting tonight for the Celtics. They beat the Heat on the glass by 10, 44-34. Offensive rebounds, they got them there by 5. You name it, the Celtics did it in every category tonight against Miami. They had more assists. They had more steals. They had 6 blocks to just 1 for Miami. The turnovers were even at 11 apiece. But when I'm looking at this game, man, the largest lead for the Celtics was 34 points. The Heat never led in this game. They never led in this game, Miami Heat, right? And I told you Bam Adebayo with 24 points. And, Delon Wright came off the bench, right? This dude's a good player. He had himself 5 3-pointers tonight and 17 points for him. And, did have 5 guys in double figures. Not much for Kevin Love tonight. He's older now, and it's not going to be easy for him night in and night out. Tyler Herro, you're wondering about Tyler, and this is something that the Heat really need to figure out what to do with him. The Celtics are keying on him. He doesn't have Jimmy Butler out there, so he's kind of, you feel bad for Tyler. Everywhere he goes, he's got guys all over him, but hey, you're making big bucks. You got that huge contract, and you're a guy who can get it done. So Tyler Herro, who went 4 of 13, 3 of 9 from downtown, 11 points. He was a minus 12 for the Miami Heat, and just not a good performance for Miami in game number 1. It was to be expected, right? Long week. They talked about it on the telecast. Long week for Miami, right? You're in Philadelphia for the first play-in game. You go up huge. You're balling out. Your Jimmy Butler's there. He's playing great. He's coming off his 3rd steal, and he has 2 dunks in a row, layup and a dunk, actually, and he pump fakes. Kelly Oubre Jr. lands on the leg, and bam, Jimmy just slowly diminishes from that point forward in that game and didn't really give you all that much from that point. And, Tyler Herro had a bad game that night, going 9 for 27, enabling the Philadelphia 76ers. And Miami had a 20-point-plus lead. Philadelphia, with Joel Embiid basically playing on one leg, they're able to come back because Nick Batum gets hot from the outside and starts bombing threes, right? Nick Batum, longtime veteran, but, Batum is not a guy that you're expecting to beat you. He's not a guy that you're expecting to get hot from beyond the arc and carry the team in that series or in any game. And he did that in that playing game against the Heat. So they allowed a journeyman, and he goes out there and beats him with this 3-point shooting, which was absolutely terrible, right? And so that's obviously the Celtics are a much better team than that right now. Philly was killing everybody earlier in the year before Embiid got hurt. But when Embiid got hurt and had the surgery, that was pretty much, going to be all she wrote for them. And they got smoked in game 1 by the Knicks, and not really smoked, but smoked in the second half. And we'll see how they do moving forward. But the big lead in Philly, the Sixers shoot themselves back in. Miami's zone gets scorched in that game. And they look so good early on, but just unable to sustain it. Philly steals that win. Miami should have had it. They should have been playing the Knicks yesterday. Instead, you go to Boston. You go and face the team that you beat in the Eastern Conference Finals last year as an 8th seed. You go and face the team you've beaten 4 out of 6 times. You go again and face the team where you ended their Big 3 era of KG, Pierce, and Ray Allen. You're facing a team that had the number 1 record in basketball this year. You're facing a team that is the odds-on favorite at plus 125 to win the NBA championship. You're facing a team that went out and got rid of Marcus Smart. They bring in Jrue Holiday, who's on the Olympic team with Bam Adebayo. They bring in Kristaaps Porzingis to shoot threes from beyond the arc at 7 feet 2 inches. And oh, by the way, some pretty big blocks in the game today for Porzingis as well. And you are facing a team that has the heat cranked up on it. Pun 100% intended in Boston everywhere you go. I wonder if the Celtics are going to choke this year. Is this going to finally be the year for Tatum, for Jermaine Brown? Is this going to be the year where the Celtics get over that hump and win that 18th championship? Banner number 18 up in the rafters of TD North Garden. Is this the year you go in and you're facing that team and all those things I just told you that go along with it? You look at also the leprechaun ghosts in the Boston or TD North Garden. I don't know how the mute just turned off on my computer. I apologize for that there, guys. But so many questions for the Heat remaining in this series. Can they do it without Jimmy? Can they find an answer to the Celtics when they're shooting the ball well? Can Miami find anything on offense to get going and score some points? These are things we're going to take a look at the rest of the way here on the show. It's your Miami Heat postcast. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. First week here on Locked On Sports. I'm loving every second of it. The number one podcast network in America. Locked On Miami postcast after every Heat game. Locked On Miami postcast after every Marlins game. Locked On Miami Hurricanes postcast, and Locked On Miami Dolphins postcast after every single game on the Locked On Miami YouTube channel. We had a little bit of lag there on the connection. No big deal. And also, not just on the YouTube channel, but wherever you listen to your podcast as well. So we're going to talk about all those things and more still remaining on the show. But right now, guys, I need to tell you a little bit about some of my friends who make this possible. And I know I call them all my friends. The sponsors are our friends, right? They take care of me and they take care of you. First one I'm going to talk about right now is the Monopoly Go game. And man, I will tell you what, Monopoly Go, you see it all over social media. It's the rage right now. And, you know, I mean, I've been told I'm a competitive person. I don't know about you. Are you a competitive person? We love sports. We're competitive. I'm getting fired up and heated up just talking about it right now. Yes, I think it's true. I am a competitive person. Well, I do have a competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it, right? It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards. That's right. It's bugged out, right? Hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. The best part, messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly. Now I can heist the vaults of riches for myself, and the leaderboards show me who is the biggest Monopoly tycoon. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. Can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments and earn huge rewards. To get in the game right now, join your friends, download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. It's Monopoly Go. I already told you about my friends at Game Time. What an awesome company this is. I mean, you really think about, last minute deals, priority with Game Time all the time. You save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Zone deals, save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. All-in pricing, which toggles the feature, shows the total up front with no surprise fees. At checkout, you have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So what are you waiting for? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. That's right. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. As we continue with the show here, Locked On Miami Heat postcast. This took a little bit late. They're loading a little bit late and popping up a few seconds later on me. We'll get that fixed, guys. Appreciate you hanging out with me here. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. The Heat blasted in Beantown 114-94 by the Boston Celtics. Does that late comeback give them a boost for game number 2? Was it just garbage time? Were the C's just kind of lax? Look, it was a 34-point lead, right? Game's over. You start playing like the Globetrotters at that point, right? You start going behind the back, between the legs. You start balling out. You start throwing alley-oops off the glass. You start really having fun playing the game of basketball. But what can happen in that instance, and you kind of just like wait for the clock to expire, the other team can get hot and start balling out on you, and that's what the Heat did. They had 7 threes in the fourth quarter tonight, so it was not a good shooting night for Miami, and I already told you what a horrible shooting night it was when you look at the number of threes they hit in the game. I think overall it was, 12 for 37 for Miami, and what is that? Yeah, that's 32% from 3. So 12 threes made, but 7 of them were in the fourth quarter. So you take away that fourth quarter when they were, I believe like 7 out of 10 is what I think they were in that fourth quarter, and you're just jacking them up at that point anyway. And I know it's not with the regular intensity of early in the game or that it would be in a tight game, but it gives you some confidence, right? Can Delon Wright keep hitting big shots? Is he going to see more time in the rotation? Erik Spoelstra has a history of doing that with players when they get hot during playoff series. All of a sudden, you see a lot more of that player, right? Could he be a guy that's going to hit those threes and keep the Celtics honest? What is Boston going to do to adjust to Bam Adebayo, who had 24 points? Porzingis had a good game too, but Bam had 24, and he had the 6 rebounds as well, had a good game for Miami tonight. So Bam, even shooting the perimeter shot better these days, but those hooks in tight, he's money every single time, right? Making the Olympic team again. Shout out to Bam and to Jrue Holiday of the Celtics for that honor. But when you think about what the Heat need to do to get back in this series, they're going to have to hit those threes. So getting hot down the stretch toward the end of game 1 could be a big, big boost for them. And you think about Miami, they had 35 points in the fourth quarter tonight, 14 in the third. 14 in the third, 35 in the fourth, 21 and 24 in the first and second. Not too bad, but Boston had 2 30-point quarters, a 34 and a 31 in the second and the third. And they're a great second quarter and a great third quarter team. And when they get going, you get 6 guys in double figures. Tatum's got 23, 10, and 10 with a triple-double. Brown didn't even have a big game for them tonight at all. And they didn't really need Jalen to have a big game for them tonight. So Tatum with 23, 10. And 10, Porzingis with 18, had himself 2 blocks as well. Also with 2 blocks, Jrue Holiday, all defense, stuff in the stat sheet in so many ways, with the rebounds, with the assists, and only had 6 points. Wouldn't become the 7th Celtics player in double figures tonight. And, I mentioned Brown. He had 17 tonight for the Celtics and 8 rebounds, as well as being a great defensive player. White had 20 points for Boston. And the thing that kills you, right? And Al Horford had 2 threes, 10 points. 12 points for Sam Hauser. Now, here's what I want to get to, Sam Hauser. And will that momentum be a boost for game 2 for Miami? Hauser shot them out of the building in the first quarter. The Celtics played great in the first quarter, but in the second and third quarter, it was Hauser in the first quarter. Sam Hauser did to Miami in the first quarter today what Nick Batum did in Philly in the second half the other night. And that was just bombed them with 3 straight threes to push the lead to 10 when it was a close game. And then a 4th one a couple of minutes later after a couple of Tatum free throws. And that was what really propelled the Celtics early on. I mean, it was 26-21 at the end of a quarter, but Miami played pretty well. The intensity was there, the deflections and things like that. And then what happened from that point forward was, it's Sam Hauser hitting threes. He hit 3 in a row, and then that gave them the bigger lead, and that just jumpstart. Before you knew it, the lead was 20. So Hauser hitting those open threes. What can Miami do? They obviously didn't make those corrections after Batum got him. You can't be letting these types of players beat you, because you'll lose every time when that happens. Now, you're not going to let Tatum beat you. This is the problem with the Celtics, right? This is the problem with the Celtics. One of many. They're long. They're athletic. They're strong. They're quick. Yeah, all those things. They shoot great, especially when they're hot. You can't beat them when they're hot. Why? Because they have spacing all over the floor with great players. They have Tatum. They have Brown. They can hit threes. They can take it to the rack. They can dish it. They can do all those things. They can both score 40 or 50 points in a game. Porzingis throws up 30 throughout the season almost routinely. He's 7-2 hitting threes all night. What are you going to do against that team when they're hitting their shots? Not a whole hell of a lot, but you can test every shot. You get hands in their face, and you do not let the 19th man off a 12-man team beat you. And that's what Hauser did in the first quarter, set the tone for Boston. Easy for me to say sitting up here, I know, but I've covered the Heat a long time, and I know what this team feeds on. Their energy, their deflections, the loose balls. And then when they get hot and they start playing that offense and shooting threes, Miami's very tough to beat, with or without Jimmy Butler. Remember, they were 6 games above 500 without Jimmy Butler this year, or rather 4 games, 13-9, I believe they were. So that's something that, when you think about Jimmy and Jimmy being out, it's the Celtics, it's the playoffs. They're plus 125 to win it all. What was the number on that game tonight? It was something crazy. What was their shoot? They were favored by like minus 3,500 to win this series and plus 125 to win it all. And that really is incredible. Really is incredible. But the Heat still have a 20-18 postseason record against the Celtics. Bam Adebayo, it doesn't look like Boston has much of an answer for him. So maybe Miami can keep it moving with the momentum and take that fourth quarter where they played good defense, forced a bunch of turnovers. Look, Jayson Tatum is a turnover machine. He's gotten a little better this year. He's an all-NBA player, first team in my book. But this dude is a turnover machine. Miami's defense, if I'm Coach Eric Spoelstra right now, I'm thinking about ways to clog those passing lanes and force more turnovers because way too many easy passes tonight, way too many open looks tonight. The Celtics didn't even exert themselves too much in that second and third quarter when they built that big lead. And that was something that, they're really going to have to move forward. The Heat moving forward are going to have to clean that up. As we wrap up segment 2 here on the show, your Miami Heat postcast, I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. And still to come, Heat versus Celtics, 7th time in 10 years. Some great history there. What can Miami do to get back in this series? We've been talking about that. More of that to come as we wrap up the show. But first, I have a question for you. Have you been watching ESPN, Fox Sports on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume sometimes when your ears start hurting, all that shouting and screaming and yelling. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. You knew I was going somewhere with that. A free, Free, free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. No screaming. You don't need to scream. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. You can't go wrong with Locked On and the Podcast Network. Really pumped with the Miami postcast, the Heat, the Marlins, the Dolphins, and the University of Miami. After every game, I will be here with you. Going to do a couple of quick commercials, pay the bills, and get right back to the show. As your Locked On Miami Heat postcast with me, Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Tell you about the great people at Prize Picks. And this is a personal endorsement for me that I really enjoy doing. And, you get a lot of things to say about a great company like Prize Picks and a lot of things you can choose. But I want to just talk to you about basketball right now because this is what we're doing, right? You can now win up to 100 times your money. How about we start with that? Winning up to 100 times my money. How, Grease? Please tell me. I'm glad you asked. 100 times your money on Prize Pick with as little as 4 correct picks. How do you do that? You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. And, you have the playoffs that are underway right now. The basketball postseason. Win 100 times your money with Prize Picks. They have something for every sports fan: basketball, hockey, League of Legends, everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Caitlin Clark, Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry. It's the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia, some of the biggest states in our union. Meek Mill's on there. Sugar Sean O'Malley's on there. You can play alongside them with their community plays. You get quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. That is Prize Picks. They also offer weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account, and that has been going on throughout this basketball season. What a great thing to be involved with this incredible company, Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today. Code is LOCKEDONNBA. First deposit match up to $100. It's highly encouraged. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. All right, they're getting a little bit quicker. So that's 2 breaks in the books as we move it on into the final segment of the show. And it has been a good one here today, a really good one. Pretty pumped to have you here. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. The Miami Heat lose 114-94 on the road against the Boston Celtics in game 1 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. I almost keep saying Eastern Conference Finals, right? These two teams have played so many times. Who could forget Dwayne Wade throwing Rajon Rondo on the ground? Who could forget LeBron's 45 and 17 in game 6 with the Heat facing elimination, came home and won game 7, ended the Celtics Big Three era for the most part. And no, not for the most part, did end the Celtics Big Three era. And that was what was the determining factor in the Heatles winning that first of 2 back-to-back. They, of course, went 2-2 in the finals over 4 years together, and what a special time that was. But that was Garnett, Pierce, and Allen, and the Celtics, to their credit, just keep getting better. Danny Ainge handed it over to Brad Stevens, and Brad Stevens in the front office with Joe Mazzulla and Ime Udoka, who they let go, was a great coach of the year, right? And with Mazzulla, they made it right back to the conference finals a year ago. Turnovers and poor shooting plagued him against Miami last year. But, man, this team is good, guys. I mean, everybody's talking about what to do in game 2 if you're Miami. Just shoot the ball better, they say. Well, if you look, every shot is contested, man, almost every shot. Hands in the face all night long. They're a great defensive team. Good luck scoring on Jaylen Brown. And Jrue Holiday, what an upgrade for them defensively. Now they have the all-Olympic, all-world point guard in Jrue Holiday to go along with the shooting of Porzingis and the great, great players. First-team All-NBA Jayson Tatum, third-team All-NBA Jaylen Brown. And I'm not saying that's what they made. I'm saying that's where I rate them. That's about their talent level. Jaylen Brown is that good. Jayson Tatum is that good. 6 players in double figures today. You got a 7-2 guy in Porzingis shooting threes all night over everyone. You can't really do much about that. Bam Adebayo with the 24 points was on his own pretty much tonight. You can't count on Delon Wright every night to score 17 and go 5 for 5 from 3. Tyler Herro is going to have a game or two in this series, we know, but he's got to be more consistent. So for the Heat to come back in this series and tie it up on Wednesday, right? Game 2 is Wednesday. We'll have the post show for you right after that. The postcast, Locked On Miami Heat postcast. Obviously, you have to shoot a lot better early in the game. You can't be they had a 14-point quarter in the third, and that was just terrible. They came out completely flat, gave us nothing in the third quarter. But early in the game, they looked all right, and they let Sam Hauser shoot him out of the game. They did okay on Tatum early on, and Jaylen Brown didn't do much at all early in the game. These guys don't usually force it. They take with what's within the game, and they'll pass that ball around, and it ended up being Sam Hauser and Porzingis who killed him in the first quarter. And that shows you how good this team is, that a guy like Sam Hauser, if I'd have told you before the game that Sam Hauser was going to be the key for the Celtics offensively in the first quarter, what would you have said to me? But he was that guy. He did what Batum did to the Heat the other night. They have to find a way to stop an opposing player who's not really a key contributor from getting hot and burying them with threes. That's just not, it can't happen. And props to Hauser, right? But Miami on offense, they got to get some better looks. I like to see their screens, a little harder screens, knock some more guys on the ground, get a little more physical with Boston. Have Pat Riley come in and give a speech. Dial up that physicality. Start beating them up a little bit. Start throwing them on the ground a little bit. You are outmanned. You are outgunned. You are in no position to compete with this team in a regular basketball game right now. You want to go back to the 90s and start playing that Heat Knicks style of basketball. And right now, that's really your only way to do it. I think you get a lot more physical. You throw some harder screens. You get some more open looks, and you just beat this team up. So even if they do beat you, good luck in the next round, Boston, with those checkerboard bodies just bludgeoned with bruises, right? Play that style of basketball, pound the ball inside, create some open shots, throw some guys on the ground. Let's go, Miami Heat, right? That's the way you got to do it. I really believe right now against this team. There's no other way to do it. And seriously believe you have a chance to win this series. I just don't think you do. You just don't. You got to give people some bloody noses and bloody lips. And when Wade threw Rondo on the ground, perfect example, right? Took him right out of that series. I mean, sometimes that happens. I'm not saying play dirty. I'm saying play hard, play rough, play physical. Physical. Man, I miss the old days of the NBA when there were physical players in the game, and that kind of play was allowed a lot more. And those 90s series were incredible. But the Heat, it's been a tough year, guys. Jimmy Butler is out. You're not expecting anything from him. They've made a living in the past out of being an underdog and giving us runs like in the bubble, and then last year that we never thought we'd see. So props to them. But this series, they're outgunned, outmanned. You got Tatum, you got Brown, you got Porzingis, you got Holiday. That's 4 all-stars right there, 2 all-world players, 2 other all-stars. Your coach has found his groove. Last year was his first year. He's a lot more seasoned and experienced, especially in the playoffs. Right now, this is a juggernaut. I don't think the Heat are going to have an easy time even winning a game in this series, but we'll see, right? Game 2 is Wednesday. We'll be here with your Miami Heat postcast right after that one. The Marlins as well. Check that schedule. I don't have it in front of me, and I should. I'll get better. The Marlins postcast as well. They're playing at the same time today, so we're just doing Heat, but we'll be back with that one the next time the Marlins play after they finish their series with Chicago. 114-94. The Celtics race out to a 14-0 lead, led by as many as 34 points, and bomb the Miami Heat out of that building tonight in Beantown. 114-94. Miami hit 7 threes in the fourth quarter to make it close late. See if they have momentum heading into game number 2, because they need something against this great team without their best player in Jimmy Butler, and a long week coming off those 2 play-in games. It's just a less than ideal, is the most mild way I can say it, set of circumstances for Miami heading into the game today. 114-94. The Celtics beat the Heat in game 1. We'll be back on Wednesday. Until next time, Heat fans, keep your game tight and your mind right. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and I am out.